one thing we've tried to establish at the ACIR is that since we pull in voting members from every single group, we've established something where, this is recent, that we should be trying to bring in new committee members every couple of years so that there's new people, so it's not just the same people constantly. So you constantly get people's opinions on things. The other thing we've been trying to do is we've had a hard time actually getting students to be on the committee. And I think it's because they don't get paid. You know, it's work, it's complicated, sometimes it's really boring. And so one thing we're trying to do is we're trying to make it to where the USS, the University Student Senate, makes the decision to say, okay, we'll be the one to, if the opening is made and nobody fills it, we will nominate somebody and give you a person, so that the student body, that organization that represents the student body, is the one that then chooses a person every single year to be like the senator for us, you know. But on stuff like the proxy voting process, that one's, I think, kind of specific, because the way that what they did first was they said, what issues matter to us? And they made this giant document, which is available online, that says, here are all the topics that we care about. And it covers human rights, it covers animal rights, it covers environmental sustainability, and covers how democratically governed a corporation is, all sorts of stuff. And then it says we can use these as the foundation by which we say whether or not we want to vote a certain way on a proxy thing. So like there's this document, and that document can be edited, but I think it would only be edited if there was some push from students or from one of the committee members in general. I think it's becoming, people are getting more and more aware that this is an outlet by which students can get involved in financial issues and make a difference, you know. So I think it's just a matter of time that the relationship that our committee has with students grows. And I think what plays the biggest part in that is students being willing to just email us and talk to us. And at the same time, anytime a student asks us for, wanting to work with us and stuff, even sitting here and answering questions on a camera, like, yes, absolutely, we'll do it, because this is the only way in which we can, work together. It's just, meeting each other halfway, and hopefully we can do something together, Look at any one of the years of the proxy voting reports, because we don't just choose topics randomly. We actually go through and if we have any company in which so for example, people that make these proxy proposals will do it at many companies. Maybe they'll do it at 10 or 15 companies and say, all these 10 or 15 oil companies, we have stocks in all of you and we want you guys to all to make changes. So you have this giant list, so that means that it's called a proxy topic. So that topic has applied to many different companies. We go through and see if any of the investments that we're aware of in our own endowment are part of one of these proxy topics. And then we make a list of those proxy topics. So if somebody actually wanted to see all of the different issues that apply to our endowment, those proxy voting reports essentially apply directly. It doesn't say exactly which company we're holding stocks in, but it does say which topics exactly apply to our endowment. And it's a lot. It's a lot of topics. I mean, I'm talking... It's just the way capitalism works. It's weird. I mean, you can have topics where there's deforestation going on in Malaysia, or there's slave labor going on in another country in the Pacific, or, there's the way they raise cattle in America is they burn off their horns, or, there's all these weird, crazy issues where first of all, you can't believe that they happen. You're just like, why would somebody just burn off the horns of a cow? But secondly, they all apply just to ours, and ours is just a small subset of the world of issues that apply. So anyway, somebody could go through there and just read literally the topic sentences for each one and just be like, holy crap, there's so much we have to work on. And climate change and fossil fuel investment is like one drop in that bucket. It's just an incredibly important issue, and we've happened to just focus on that because there was a lot of student interest in it, and that's what we're kind of focusing on. But the proxy voting report, I recommend everybody at least kind of look at the table of contents, and that'll say literally every topic. I'm an economics PhD student. there's a certain amount of like my story that's like not romantic, and there's a certain amount of story that's like it's kind of nice. So the non-romantic part is I ran for a position in my department. I didn't get it, and I had no money. And there was this committee called the ACIR, and a friend of mine was the research assistant at the time, and they had an open position for the other research assistant. And he told me about it and asked if I was interested in it, and I went to one of their meetings, and they were getting nothing done. Just at that specific meeting. I don't think in general they weren't getting anything done. I think it was just a not very productive meeting. And I was like, well, this sounds like a cool committee, but this sounds like there's just gonna be a lot of work on my behalf for not a whole lot of money to like get this committee moving. But then I met with the chair at the time and we talked, and it was just a really nice meeting. And she kind of just made it clear to me that there's a lot that can be done with this if I'm willing to take the role of the person that doesn't stay in the limelight, but instead is the person that tries to just grease the tracks, the person that just tries to like make everything run smoothly, so all these people feel like that what they do counts and matters and actually get something done. And so the two things: one, it was my only source of income when I first came here, and I had to pay rent. But two, it felt like a good way that I could be out of the limelight, but actually help something that was serious and important, and like an ethical way in which economics can actually be used. We have this website, which is wonderful. We have this outlet by which anybody can check into things, but I think we're kind of at a crossroads, because I think we're realizing also that like we have to make our documents not just sometimes certain documents have to be made for more than one purpose. Like we make this annual report, right? But we were talking about it at our last meeting, and they were like, who is this annual report for? Because it just looks so official, and it sounds so official, and it's the kind of thing that's really nice if you want to send to like the board of trustees to be like, look how important we are, don't cut our budget, but it's not one of those things you're going to hand a student and be like, here, get involved. They're going to be like, this is just like a bureaucratic document. I think it would be a wonderful thing if anybody was interested in sitting with us and going through and suggesting cool changes to the website, where we'd be excited about doing that too. Any way students want to work with us to make positive changes, we're about that. So, and I know something like the website is just basically like a collection of our stuff. It's not necessarily easy to walk through, but we need to increase, I think, the financial literacy of a lot of students at our school, so students feel comfortable having these important conversations at the school and then later on in life. The problem was, I think the problem remains, and it's a little bit difficult to work with, is that students graduate, and so you have these students that get like 3-4 years into being in the new school, and they're finally comfortable and they finally feel cool about like doing activism or whatever, organizing stuff, and then they graduate and they're gone. And so you kind of like, every year there's like a lot of turnover. I think the only way to prevent that from like completely decimating like the group of students that like you work with every year is developing really good institutional relationships between organizations, where we say, oh, well, every year our two organizations, we get together and we talk about what we want to do, or whatever, right? So, reaching out to student groups is always the first thing. But the challenge also is there might be a situation in which we just don't know if there's new student groups that are created. And so some of it is we're just willing to, anytime students reach out to us, we try to just reach back so we can kind of know what's going on. There's a couple things going on. One thing that was important is we met with the Board of Trustees last spring, and it was an important conversation, but it kind of didn't, they gave us feedback, we gave them our presentation, and it kind of ended. But then we had several administrators approach us and say, listen, we think that the smart way to go from here is we want to make a climate change plan for the entire school that doesn't just look into investment money, but also looks into what classes we teach, and it also looks into how our buildings are managed. Like if we have renewable materials put in the buildings and using lights, all this kind of operations, and what's going to be our marketing strategy. So like they wanted to have a holistic plan for the future of the new school and how we're going to address climate change. And they came to us and said, could you guys be a part of that and give us a proposal about how we should deal with investments? And we said, yeah, that sounds great. So me and my fellow research assistant, Ian Howland, worked extremely hard. We made a document that kind of, now looks at like all of the investments that we found that have fossil fuels in them, but also kind of a way in which we could go about divesting. And we sent it back to them, and they wanted to have this whole thing presented before that climate march that just happened, the People's Climate March, and it didn't happen. And now they're saying, oh, well, maybe in the spring we'll get this done and we'll present it. And we just don't know the state of things. But I think the best news so far is we had our most recent ACIR meeting, and we brought it up again. We were like, look, we made this huge document, and we checked in with a lot of different schools that have said they've divested. And what we found is our document goes further than anything else we can find in terms of saying exact steps of how to go about divesting things like indirect funds and stuff like that. Because a lot of schools that have said they divested, either they only divested from coal, and they only did it from their direct investments, and it turns out they didn't even have those investments in coal the whole time. They just won't buy them in the future. So the perfect example, this is the best example, is Stanford made this big stance saying, we're divesting from coal, but then if you look through the details, it's only in their direct investments, and they've been kind of doing it for a long time, and they finally got rid of coal. So, but even more interesting is in this last quarter, I mean, this news came out like 2 days ago. I think Reuters, just an important business news agency, reported that they have increased their investments in fracking, which isn't in coal, but it's in gas and oil. So they've been like, look at us, we're divesting, we're so sustainable, and then they're buying up tons of assets in other forms of fossil fuels. So it was obvious to us that there's a whole lot of schools that are trying to get credit for divesting, and they don't really have a plan that like other schools can use too. And that's what we did. And so people on our committee are finally like, well, let's make an event about this where we can get other schools that are interested in divestment and say, look, this is the plan we made. Do you guys think it's a good idea? If so, let's use it and let's spread it around and let's everybody try to make this idea be the way, the roadmap towards actually divesting a school from fossil fuels. So we're planning it for this spring right now. It's kind of in its rough stages, but we're already connecting with other groups that are pushing for divestment, Harvard and other groups. So that's kind of, I think, the state of where it is right now. It's a little bit more technical, but we're extremely excited about the chance that this could actually become something, you know. If you really, really want to get involved, get in touch with us, get in touch with other people that they know that are getting involved, and just have a meeting. Get people together and meet and see what people want to do. You know, we had a meeting not too long ago with the Responsible Endowments Coalition that you were at, and one student walked up and she was like, it seems like everybody has different things they want from the endowment or the investments to be taken from different things. And she said, it seems to me like what we need to do is get every single different group that has different demands and come together and make like one giant platform that says, here's what the students want in general, that addresses issues on defense and arms manufacturing and animal rights and Israel and Palestine and gender activism. And so, and I said, you're absolutely right. Do that. Like, reach out to people, see if they'll come, you know, try to get free food. That always attracts people. And then call me or like email me and I'll be there to help out. You know, it's like the good and the bad thing about activism on any important issue, especially on like a college campus, is you can do anything you want, but the more work you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it.